So, it was a nice day earlier, but it's gotten horrible. Look at that. Let's see if I can show you. Overcast. But I want to take photos. So, getting my gear ready, and I'm going to head out and see what we get. And today I want to talk to you about the importance of practicing under all conditions, right? Whether you're practicing English, any other kind of thing, it's good to practice under as many different conditions as possible. Let's go. It's raining, it's a little bit windy, it's grey, there's not much light. To be honest, it's just an unpleasant day, and it would be very easy for me to say, you know what, I'm not going to go out today. I'm not going to practice, I can't be bothered, it's horrible, the conditions are terrible. What am I doing? Unlock the car. And I'll do it on a better day. The problem is though that you only become good at what you practice, right? And so if you're always practicing under perfect conditions, guess what? You're only going to get good under perfect conditions. So, let me sit down and put this up. I can talk while I drive. There we go. So the point is that you need to be practicing under as many different conditions as possible, right? Because you want to be as adaptable as possible, because you want to be able to flourish and not just survive under different conditions. So, what does this mean for English learning? I would say that if it were me learning English in your position, or at least, if the table was turned, if I was the one in your shoes, I would be first and foremost not shying away from uncomfortable situations, right? We talk about that quite often when I'm trying to give you guys advice and I'm trying to give my students advice. When you want to improve at something, English in this case, you need to be searching for the boundaries of where your limits are, how good you are, where your limits are kind of found, and you need to be pushing past those limits. Because the only way to improve, the only way to grow, is find those limits and push past them, right? Push through them. But that's the part that's uncomfortable, and that I would use comfort as a good sign that you're in the right place. So with regards to, watch out for these people driving past. So with regards to English and adapting and learning to be good under any situation, ideally that's what you'd like, right? You want to be able to respond to any situation you might find yourself in and have practiced, have been there before. I would suggest always looking for opportunities to speak English wherever and whenever you can. And that may be more just catching yourself when you feel uncomfortable and would otherwise try and avoid using your English. So quite often I have friends, family, students, anyone that I know who's learning English or learning another language say, I don't want to do that because I don't know how to say, or I don't want to do that because I don't know the words, or I don't want to do that. And it's this kind, you're constantly finding an excuse not to do something because you're worried about failing, but you don't look at it as the fact that you haven't tried. To me, that is a sign of failure, right? Trying and failing isn't failure in this case, in how I would explain it here. I would say that not trying at all is the biggest failure. So with English, if you are practicing under all different conditions, that would be not shying away, first and foremost, not shying away from using English any time that you have to use it, in any kind of situation. If you're ordering food, if you need to ask for directions, if you want to ask a stranger a question, if you want to have a conversation about something you don't know, that you've never spoken about before, it's not shying away from those situations, okay? That's the first step, okay? Not being afraid to try something you're uncomfortable with. The second step is then searching for those situations where you aren't comfortable. And so with regards to English, this would be reading about things that you're not comfortable usually reading about because you might not know the vocabulary, right? Maybe you are always talking about science because you're a science student, and so you're comfortable talking about science, but you never talk about exercise. When it comes to going to the gym or doing exercise, you have no vocabulary, you don't know the words. So the step there would be, one, research it and try and find out some words and phrases and expressions that you can use when talking about it. But then two, having conversations about those things as often as possible, finding articles about those things, watching movies that talk about those things. So obviously, I wouldn't suggest necessarily practicing random things that you have very little likelihood of talking about in your day-to-day life. But I would be pressing you to constantly be looking for things that may not necessarily come easy to you, that you may not necessarily be used to talking about, that you may not necessarily have ever spoken about before, but think about in your own language. So that's really it for today's video, as I'm almost at the location that I'm going to be taking some photos in. Sorry about the window wipers, it's just that it's raining. But my biggest tip today is, if you want to take your English to the next level, practice under all conditions, okay? So today with photography and me, it's raining, it's overcast, the light is horrible. It's unlikely that I will take any good photos, but I want to practice under these conditions so that maybe I go away on a holiday in the future and these are the conditions I'm faced with. If I've never taken photographs in these conditions, I have no experience in these conditions, but I have no way out. So that is why I think it's so important to be practicing under all conditions with regards to learning English, with regards to photography, with regards to anything that you're trying to get good at. Try and practice that thing under as many different conditions as possible so that you have as much experience under your belt as possible as well, and hopefully you won't be surprised as often when you get into tricky and sticky situations. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. Don't forget, if you would like to learn English, if you're an intermediate to advanced learner, check out the Aussie English Podcast, guys. That is where I upload all of the podcast episodes to teach you English, okay? So it's there to take you from intermediate to advanced in your English. Check it out below. I'm Pete. I'm the host. I'll chat to you soon. I hope you have a good day. See ya. All right, so the moment of truth. It's still raining. Still loads and loads and loads of clouds. But that's not enough to stop Pete from practicing photography. Me from practicing my photography, but I should probably bring either a coat, or I guess I could bring an umbrella. I don't know what's going to be easier, maybe a coat. Anyway, there's a lot of people around, a lot of kids around, so it'll be an interesting day. Every time I come here, guys, the same crowd comes up. These are three of these hybrid mallard ducks, and no matter where I am at this lake, they always seem to see the person who comes right up to the water, and I'm guessing they get fed quite a lot. So, sorry guys, no food today. And not only is it good practice under these sort of poor light conditions when it's raining and everything, but it's also good practice in keeping all of my gear dry in the rain. So I've got my jacket here, got a bunch of plastic bags just in case it starts raining more heavily. But yeah, it's funny, you have to practice a whole bunch of other things aside from just the photography in a lot of these situations. You know, you might go somewhere that's dry with a lot of dust or a lot of sand, and so you get confronted with things you wouldn't otherwise think are a problem on a perfect day where you're used to going out and not having to battle with rain or dust or heat or cold. So again, it's why it is so important to practice these things under so many different conditions, because you never know what may happen, right? It's coots. These guys are always around waiting for food. I'm a little wet, the camera's a little wet. Hopefully I didn't destroy anything in the camera. Hopefully I can just dry it off right now with my cheap little travel towel that I have here that is really absorbent. So we'll see how that goes. Give this a dry and hope that I learnt something new whilst I was out today in some pretty shitty conditions. Anyway, I'm going to go home and edit some of these photos, and then hopefully you will be the judge of whether or not I did a good job. Anyway, thanks for joining me today, guys. Chat to you soon. Peace! Take you till the cows come running home. I wanna hear you out. I wanna listen till the clock falls off the wall.